All right, let's jump right in and unpack a debate that's been raging for years. In this explainer, we're looking at a full month-long stress test of virtual reality gaming to see if it has finally actually lived up to the massive hype. Basically, I used VR as my absolute only way to play games for 30 straight days. No traditional consoles, zero PC monitors, literally just a headset and total immersion. And I gotta tell you, there is absolutely nothing that shifts your reality quite like taking a headset off after a 6-hour session and suddenly realizing your own living room lighting feels somehow less real than the digital world you just left. We are getting to the bottom of where this tech actually sits today.
And we really need to start here, because for 10 years now, we've been promised this total gaming revolution. I mean, VR has been the next big thing for a decade. We've all heard that, right? Every single year, without fail, there's a shiny new piece of hardware or some glossy tech demo claiming it's going to completely change how we play forever. That constant, unrelenting hype cycle is exactly what prompted this bold, one-month immersive experiment. I wanted to cut straight through the marketing jargon and uncover the actual truth of day-to-day use.
So the real question we're answering today is whether this technology has finally evolved past being a simple novelty into something genuinely worthwhile. Is it actually good now, or is it still just a gimmick? We need to know if the experience actually holds up when you're just trying to chill out on a Tuesday night. Rather than just being that cool party trick you show your friends for 5 minutes. A phase that almost always ends with a sweaty headset and somebody bruising their shin on the coffee table before it gets shoved right back into the closet.
Okay, part 1. The 30-day VR test. Moving past the spec sheet.
Look, the hardware has genuinely changed for the better. It just has. The headsets are significantly lighter on your head now. The visual fidelity is absolutely razor sharp. Thanks to pancake lenses, that old annoying screen door effect we all used to complain about is pretty much totally eliminated. And wonderfully, inside-out tracking means there are way fewer wires tangling you up. Jumping in is practically frictionless. But here's the thing. The real question was never about the specs. It's about whether the actual experience holds up past the first 30 minutes of playing. Because novelty wears off incredibly fast, no matter how light the tech on your face is.
Which brings us to part 2, why VR feels different, the power of presence. Because this right here is exactly why VR gaming feels fundamentally different from anything else you can play. It all comes down to the concept of physical presence, that incredible moment where your actual body replaces a piece of plastic in your hands. What's happening here is this wild psychological shift called proprioception. VR effectively hacks your brain's spatial awareness. You aren't just feeling like you're controlling a little avatar on a screen. Your brain is actively tricked into believing you are the avatar. When you're in there playing rhythm and movement-based games, it is a remarkably different experience because your physical presence adds a layer of depth that a standard controller literally cannot replicate. Think about the stark contrast between the passive nature of traditional couch gaming and the completely different, active experience of VR. Flat-screen gaming is fundamentally passive, right? You sink into the couch, you relax, you rely purely on your thumbs. But VR gaming, at its absolute best, demands that you're active. It relies entirely on your physical movement. Contrast the passive relaxation of slouching with a controller to the adrenaline-pumping reality of physically ducking to dodge a virtual bullet, and oops, accidentally knocking your real-life coffee cup right off the table in the process. It demands your physical participation in a way that just completely rewrites the definition of playing a game.
But it isn't all just about sweating through rhythm games or dodging bullets. Over this past month, I realized social VR spaces have improved massively. The earlier versions felt really clunky and, honestly, weirdly lonely. But now, they've become so much more usable, remarkably less laggy, and way less isolating. And it's because modern VR headsets can actually translate your subtle body language. When you see someone's head tilt in confusion, or you watch their natural hand gestures as they talk, those virtual interactions suddenly feel eerily human, especially compared to just staring at a flat, static grid of faces on a Zoom call.
But let's keep it real and move to part 3, where VR falls short and the limits of immersion. Because despite those much lighter headsets, physical fatigue during long sessions is still a massive hurdle for a lot of people. Comfort has absolutely improved, but it hasn't completely disappeared. Having a glowing screen strapped to your face while standing up for hours is just physically demanding. During this 30-day test, marathon sessions meant dealing with the dreaded VR face, that super attractive, bright red ring pressed deep into your skin. Not to mention the really distinct eye strain that comes from the Virgin's accommodation conflict. It is just a raw, undeniable truth that VR is not a physically relaxed experience.
And as this quote perfectly highlights, VR's strength is presence, not necessarily narrative immersion. If you want to get truly deeply lost in a 60-hour epic RPG story, you need to be able to completely forget your physical body. But VR constantly reminds you of it. You feel the exact weight of the headset, you feel yourself sweating, your feet start to ache from standing on the carpet. All that physical friction actively pulls you right out of a deep narrative. VR gives you unparalleled physical presence, sure, but for deep, long-form storytelling, the couch remains the undisputed king. Hands down.
So, part 4. Should you buy one now? The honest verdict.
Okay, let's break it down. If you are looking for a highly engaging fitness tool or a revolutionary, deeply human social space, it is absolutely worth buying in today. It's fantastic for that active immersion. But if you're a long-form story gamer hoping to completely toss out your monitor and play sprawling adventures exclusively inside a headset, yeah, you're going to want to keep your wallet closed. You'll likely just end up disappointed.
The ultimate takeaway of this whole explainer is that VR has finally crossed from being a mere novelty into being genuinely incredibly excellent at specific things. But, and this is the crucial part, it hasn't crossed into that does everything better territory quite yet. VR is currently a super strong complement to your gaming life, not yet a full all-in-one replacement for most gamers. Think of it as an incredible sidekick, but maybe not the main hero just yet.
So we've proven it's no longer just a gimmick. But before you go, I want to hear from you. Which VR game do you want reviewed in our next explainer? Drop your suggestions below, because this experiment definitely isn't over. And make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the full month 2 follow-up. Ultimately, the question really isn't whether VR is good enough anymore. The real question is, are we physically ready to leave the absolute comfort of our couches to actually step entirely inside our games?